What does it all mean?
This is where the archaeology has been found.
Oh, hi, how are you? Well, look at that.
I need a planter. A shrine to a belly button.
This is a rock of salt? Look at that. No one gets into this, but no one.
Whoa, don't take me too far.
Now that's naked archaeology.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and God said, "Let there be light."
Everyone knows the story of Genesis, how God created the Garden of Eden and gave life to both Adam and Eve. The original man and woman would go on to populate the entire planet. But according to rabbinical interpretation, Adam's first wife wasn't Eve at all. It says that his first wife was actually named Lilith, and that Lilith left Adam because he wouldn't let her be on top during their sexual relations.
You blame her? I don't blame her.
Then, when Lilith leaves Adam, she becomes a demon, tempting men while they sleep and stealing children in the middle of the night. Today, modern feminists have adopted Lilith as their own. For them, she's an icon of empowerment and sexuality. But who was she really? Was she really an early pioneer of women's rights, or was she a demon? And what can archaeology tell us about the role that Lilith played in the ancient world? My first clue comes from an 8th century rabbinical commentary known as the Alphabet of Ben Sira, which says that Lilith was Adam's first wife as a way to explain a discrepancy between the first and second chapters of the book of Genesis. You see, in chapter 1 of Genesis, it says God created man and woman at the same time. But then, in chapter 2, it says that God created woman out of Adam's side, causing rabbinical writers like Ben Sira to speculate whether God had created two different women. So to find out more about this first woman who dumped Adam because she held a different position from him, I'm in downtown Jerusalem, where I'm meeting with Lilith expert Rebecca Lesses.
You're a Lilith expert, so tell me about Lilith. What? She is made before Eve? I don't get it.
Yes. According to Ben Sira, Adam and the first woman are created together at the same time, and her name is Lilith. She's given a name. And so you can look at them as equal. And she seemed to regard herself as being equal to Adam. When they're disputing over who should be on top, apparently in sexual relations,
She wants to be on top.
she wants to be on top.
And this is like a big problem for Adam.
Of course. He says, I'll be on top. And she says, no, I'll be on top.
He says, I'm the boss around.
I'm the boss. They fail to compromise. Adam is upset. He wants her back.
Divorce.
The first divorce.
So what happens?
3 angels are sent to get her back. She refuses to return because she knows she's not going to be equal. Then she gets disgusted. She recites the divine name and she flies away.
In the Alphabet of Ben Sira, Lilith refuses to take Hui from Adam lying down.
Let me go!
Which is probably why modern feminists have claimed her as an icon of feminine power. Not only is there a feminist magazine named after Lilith, but there's even a music festival called Lilith Fair. But the Alphabet of Ben Sira does not paint her as a feminist. Not only does it say that she could fly, which means that she might have had wings, it also says that when Lilith disobeys both Adam and God, the world's first woman turns into a female demon. But who's right, the rabbis or the feminists?
She doesn't fit into what the role of women should be. You know, a woman's supposed to be submissive to her husband, do what he says, and she's not submissive at all.
Two sides to her.
Yeah, there are 2 sides to her.
Feminist and demon.
That's where the picture of her as a feminist is drawn from. People draw
That's
from
why modern
that side.
feminists have adopted her.
Yeah.
She even has a folk festival named after her.
Yes.
I don't think the people who named the folk festival after her know about her demonic side.
Probably not.
Modern feminists have obviously borrowed their ideas about Lilith from rabbis writing in the 8th century, but selectively ignored the part about her becoming a demon. But I want to know where the rabbis got their ideas about Lilith. Was this just a literary invention to explain those first chapters of the book of Genesis? Or is there real archaeology out there that can tell me what Lilith looked like and where she came from?
He's a tall, tall man. He's a tall, tall man.
I'm searching for archaeological clues that can explain an 8th century text called the Alphabet of Ben Sira, which says that Adam's first wife wasn't actually Eve, but a woman named Lilith, who left Adam after they argued about who should be on top during sex. So far, I've found out that the rabbis who wrote this described her as a winged woman who turned into a demon when she disobeyed both Adam and God. But where in the first place did the rabbis get this idea that Lilith was a demon? Maybe they didn't get their ideas from the story of Adam and Eve itself. After all, Lilith's name isn't actually mentioned anywhere in the book of Genesis. But I do know of one fragment that's at least 1,000 years older than the Alphabet of Ben Sira that does mention Lilith by name. It's a fragment of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Maybe that fragment can tell me what Lilith looked like and what she was all about. So, I'm heading to the Dead Sea Scrolls exhibit in downtown Jerusalem. Written around the 2nd century BCE and found here in the caves of Qumran, the Dead Sea Scrolls are one of the most important archaeological finds of the 20th century. And in one fragment, known as the Song for a Sage, Lilith is mentioned by name when it says,
"And I, the instructor, proclaim his glorious splendor, so as to frighten and to terrify all the spirits of the destroying angels, bastards, demons, Lilith, howlers and desert dwellers."
But then, it's fairly unlikely that the rabbis got their ideas about Lilith from this fragment, since the scrolls themselves weren't discovered until 1947. But it does tell me that in the ancient world, there was a tradition that linked a figure named Lilith to demons. And according to Rebecca Lessis, that Lilith demon had an unhealthy appetite for small children.
What's her role with children?
Murderer in the pre-modern world and in parts of the world today without good health care. You know, a lot of children die before the age of 1 or before the age of 5 of all kinds of diseases. So why is it that children die at such a young age? It must be because of a demon has taken them away, has inflicted this illness upon them.
And that's serious business before modern medicine.
Absolutely. It's
People
very
have to come to
serious.
terms with why innocent children die.
Because of demons.
In ancient times, infant mortality was over 30%. That means 3 out of every 10 children born would have died. And so Lilith became the perfect scapegoat. The fact that Lilith had wings and snatched up babies has given me a new clue that she might have had talons or claws as well. But Lilith didn't just snatch up newborn babies, she also did the demonic equivalent of a preemptive strike and stole men's sperm as they slept in the night.
This is on one hand how she's the threat to children, and she's also regarded as a threat to men. When they're asleep, she can seduce them, and from them she can get demon children.
They have kind of a wet dream.
Yeah.
Wet dreams are a perfectly normal body function.
But once you connect sperm with children being born, then you say, wait a minute, what happens to all that sperm that doesn't get born? Sort of, you know what I mean? Like sperm that goes out there but doesn't result in children must be frustrated spirits that wanted to be born but didn't get born.
Procreation was serious business in the ancient world. And in biblical Israel, spilling your seed for reasons other than childbirth was considered a sin. So, if Lilith was knocking at your door in the middle of the night, you would have tried anything to stop her from coming in. And back in those days, the only way to stop Lilith was by trapping her inside a magic bowl. And if you're looking for experts on magic incantation bowls, there's no better person to go to than Dan Levine, which is who I'm meeting now at the Bible Lands Museum in Jerusalem.
So what we have here is a magic bowl. Can you explain to me the whole concept of magic bowls?
They're amulets.
They're amulets?
Yes. If you wanted to ward off misfortune, you'd go to a practitioner and he'd write it for you, the names of the clients. So we have names of real individuals who lived
1600 to 1300 years ago.
Yes, most of them were taken home. They were buried upside down under the floor, sometimes in the four corners of the house. And these things are, in a sense, kind of like demon traps. So,
Oh, like you have mouse traps? These are
absolutely.
These are demon traps.
Yes, yes.
In the middle of the night, you hear a snap.
Poof, and they're gone.
By burying one in each corner of their homes, the ancients considered these magic bowls to be the best form of insurance against Lilith's evil doings.
If you can just show me, like physically, what's going on, say, in that magic bowl over there?
Well, this is a divorce writ for Liliths. And the idea is a divorce writ is a legal contract binding for demons and supernatural beings as well as humans.
They're called gets.
Yes, this is a get against demon, and it basically a divorce writ telling the demon, you have got your divorce writ, it's been served to you.
Get out of here.
Get out, go.
Specifically Lilith?
Specifically Lilith, yes.
All the magic bowls that have ever been found come from the ancient Babylonian city of Nippur in present-day Iraq. But ever since the end of the Iraq War, hundreds of these bowls were looted from the museum in Baghdad. Many made their way through the antiquities market to Jerusalem, which is where I'm headed next. I want to find my own magic bowl that will protect me against Lilith's evil charms.
He's a tall, tall man. He's a tall, tall man.
I'm looking for clues that can tell me more about Lilith, who, according to rabbinic tradition, was Adam's first wife. So far, I found out that the ancients believed that Lilith was a demon, and that the only way to get rid of her was by trapping her inside a Babylonian magic bowl. And since the end of the Iraq War, hundreds of these bowls have made their way to the antiquities market in Jerusalem's Old City, which is where I'm headed now with Professor Dan Levine, who's agreed to help me pick out one for myself.
Oh, I think we've got a good story there.
It's a beautiful one. Look at that, eh? Oh, look at this.
What do you see there?
I see it's divided in four.
Yes.
Oh, it's holy name. It's the name of God.
It's the permutations of the Tetragrammaton.
The Tetragrammaton, which is the holy name of
The
God.
holy name of God.
Wow, I just found a magic bowl from 5th century Babylon that uses the four-letter name of God to divorce the Lilith demon, which I can't help but find exciting, since the rabbinic tradition clearly says that Lilith spoke the same name of God to divorce herself from Adam. It's perfect symmetry, and perfect for my collection too.
There's a price on the back. My God. This is the price?
Yes.
Dollars?
Dollars.
$1,300?
Yes. Because this genuine antique.
It's a genuine antique. No, I know that. I'm the naked archaeologist. I can't afford $1,300. But it's a beautiful one.
It is a beauty.
This is Kabbalah. This is real Kabbalah because
Well,
it's using the holy name
Absolutely.
and various variations of the holy name for the purpose of protection.
Absolutely.
Kabbalah is a form of Jewish mysticism which uses symbols to reveal the hidden truths behind the Bible. In fact, the alphabet of Ben Sira is also considered Kabbalistic, since it uses the Lilith story to decode the book of Genesis. But if Jewish mysticism portrays Lilith as a demon, then I wonder what the Christian tradition has to say. And my first clue comes from one of the greatest achievements of Christian architecture, the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Built in the 14th century, it has a stone carving that depicts Adam and Eve being tempted by Lilith. But instead of depicting her as a demon with wings, she's depicted as a half woman, half snake, with her tail wrapped around the tree of knowledge. What's this carving about? Where did the Christians get the idea to turn Lilith into a snake in the first place? To find out, I'm taking a look at an early Christian form of mysticism called Gnosticism. Like Kabbalah, Gnosticism was meant to reveal the hidden truths in the Bible, which the Catholic Church eventually tried to suppress. And they would have succeeded too if the Nag Hammadi library hadn't been discovered here on the western bank of the Nile River back in 1945. The library contains 13 papyri books that date to the 3rd century. And even though the books don't mention Lilith, they do mention another woman who sounds a lot like Lilith, except the Gnostics called her Sophia, after the Greek word for wisdom. But I'm convinced that Sophia and Lilith come from the same idea. You see, the Gnostics believed the universe was balanced by male and female energies, and that Sophia represented the female. But then, when she abandoned her role in the world, Sophia fell into darkness, where she gave birth to the material universe, including all of humanity. In doing so, Sophia disrupted the balance of the universe which the creation of Eve was meant to solve. Sound familiar? Well, it should, because it sounds exactly like the story of Lilith. But because of Sophia's connection to wisdom and the serpent's connection to forbidden knowledge, the Gnostics came to identify Sophia with the tree of knowledge. So it's through Sophia that Lilith becomes the serpent that tempts Adam and Eve in Christian art, which can even be seen in Michelangelo's famous fresco here on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. But these mystical visions of Lilith are much later traditions. I want to know what the original Lilith really looked like. So far, I know that Lilith was a winged woman. She was both nocturnal and a demon. She also had talons and was a seductress, which means she was probably naked. And now, all I have to do is find ancient archaeology that matches that description.
He's a tall, tall man. He's a tall, tall man.
I'm on a quest to find archaeology that can tell me where Lilith came from and what she really looked like. So far, I found out that Lilith influenced both Jewish and Christian ideas about how humanity was created. And in both cases, she was seen as a threat to procreation. But I've also found out that the only way to get rid of her was by trapping her in a magic bowl. And all the bowls ever found came from ancient Babylon. You see, in the 6th century BCE, the kingdom of Judah was conquered by the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar. When the Jews were taken captive to Babylon, they could have been exposed to Babylonian myths and customs, including that of Lilith. In fact, in both ancient Babylon and Israel, Lilith's name translates as nocturnal woman or woman of the night. And it just so happens that at the British Museum in London, they have a 5,000-year-old statue from ancient Babylon that's actually called the Queen of the Night. So that's where I am now to meet with curator Irving Finkel.
This is clearly a naked lady.
I'm glad you spotted that straight away without any help from me, but that is true.
She's a little bit scary, to tell you the truth.
Well, she's meant to be. We call her the Queen of the Night.
Some would say that it's male fear of women. She's gorgeous, but she's got these talons.
And it's clearly an underworld goddess of great power. She holds the rod and ring symbols, which means she has cosmic power.
Wow, the statue matches the description of Lilith exactly. And I'm convinced that it must be the earliest prototype for the tradition that follows.
And in Mesopotamian magic, there is a character called Lilith.
Lilith.
And
that's why I'm here. I'm interested in Lilith and I'm interested in Lilith.
Yes.
And when I heard about this lady, she sure sounded like Lilith.
Yes, it is possible. It is possible. I mean, one doesn't know where these things originate. The rabbinic Lilith and all these other demons that get to attack babies and children are clearly a very ancient phenomenon where a witch-like thing with claws and eagles and coming in the night gets the belly of a pregnant woman, gets the newborn baby so it dies in spasms. There's a deep-seated Semitic personification of those dangers in this sort of way.
So here she is, the earliest depiction of Lilith in the ancient world. A nocturnal goddess who fits all the criteria for Adam's first wife. She was a looker, but with those talents, no wonder he didn't want her to be on top. And it seems that it's this woman who evolves into the Lilith we meet in the alphabet of Ben Sira. It's been quite a journey, and what I've learned is that from the get-go, we all wanted to be on top. In the struggle that ensued, the universe was thrown out of balance. Death, darkness, jealousy, and envy were all introduced into the cosmos. But instead of trying to trap Lilith in magic bowls, maybe we should try to channel her dark and destructive energy into love, equality, light, and life.
He's a tall, tall